My name is Vanessa Cole, and I'm 36 years old now. But my real story started when I was just 16. That was the night my parents didn't just kick me out, they erased me. It was raining hard that evening in November. I still remember standing at the front door with one suitcase in my hand while my mom pointed outside like I was a stranger. Get out. And don't come back. No hesitation. No emotion. No second chance. Just like that, I was gone. That same night, they had legal papers drafted to cut me off completely, no inheritance, no family ties, nothing. Me and the baby I was carrying meant absolutely nothing to them anymore. And the wild part? For the next 20 years, they told everyone I had moved abroad. They built a perfect image, perfect family, perfect reputation, like I never existed. Before we get into this, please take a moment to like and subscribe. But only if this story truly resonates with you. And drop your location and local time in the comments. I want to know where you are right now. Now, let me take you back. Meanwhile, I was out there surviving on my own. Then last week, everything flipped. I pulled into my driveway after work and saw a luxury car parked outside my house. And standing at my door were the last two people I ever expected to see again. My parents. Smiling like nothing ever happened. Talking about we miss you and we should reconnect. But they didn't come for me. They came for their grandson. A grandson they had been bragging about to their rich friends for months. A grandson they wanted to show off at their 50th anniversary party in front of 200 guests. They even offered me $250,000 just to show up with him. Here's the truth though. That grandson doesn't exist. And what they were about to face instead was something they never saw coming. Back in 2004, we lived in Seattle. On the outside, we looked like the perfect family. Big house, respected name, strong church presence. My dad, Victor Cole, ran a successful law firm. My mom controlled everything, our image, our behavior, even how we dressed. Every Sunday, we sat in the front row at church like a picture-perfect family. But inside that house, things were different. My older brother Dylan was the pride of the family. Future dentist. No mistakes allowed. My sister Haley was the perfect daughter. Quiet, obedient, exactly what my parents wanted. And me? I was the unexpected one. The mistake they never planned for. I learned early to stay quiet, ask for less, and never need too much. Because in that house, love wasn't unconditional, it was earned. Then I met Jaden Brooks. We met at a public library downtown. That place was my escape. No pressure, no comparisons, no expectations. Jaden was different. Calm, kind, and real in a way I had never experienced before. He looked at me like I mattered. And for the first time in my life, I believed it. We kept our relationship secret for a couple of months. He made me feel seen, heard, and safe. Then everything changed. 2 pink lines. That's all it took. My hands were shaking when I saw the test. I felt like my entire world was collapsing. When I told Jaden, he didn't run. He didn't panic. He just held my hands and said, "We'll figure it out. You're not alone." Part of me believed him. But I also knew my parents. And I knew exactly how this would go. To them, it was never about me or the baby. It was always about one thing, what people would think. So I told them. Sunday dinner. The worst decision of my life. The moment I said, "I'm pregnant," the entire room went silent. My dad looked at me with zero emotion and asked, "Who is the father?" Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "What do you need?" Just that. When I told them Jaden went to a public school and worked at an auto shop, I saw it in their faces. Disgust. Disappointment. Final judgment. That was the moment I stopped being their daughter. That night, they gave me a choice. Get rid of the baby, or get out. At 9:15 p.m., I was standing outside in the rain with one suitcase and nowhere to go. Alone. But what they didn't know was this. That night wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of everything they would one day regret. The night my parents threw me out, I thought my life was over. I had no plan, no money, and nowhere to go. The only person I could call was Jaden. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial his number from a gas station payphone. The rain had soaked through my clothes, and I felt completely numb. He picked up on the second ring. Vanessa? What's wrong? They kicked me out. That's all I managed to say before I broke down. 20 minutes later, he showed up in his uncle's beat-up truck. He didn't ask questions. He just wrapped his jacket around me and held me like I was the most important person in the world. I got you, he said. You're not alone. And for the first time that night, I believed it. We didn't have much. Between the two of us, we had about $300, an old truck, and a whole lot of uncertainty. For 2 weeks, we stayed at the house of an older neighbor, Mrs. Ramirez, who had seen everything happen that night. She opened her door without hesitation and gave us a place to breathe. But we couldn't stay there forever. So we moved. A tiny studio apartment in Tacoma, just outside Seattle. It sat above a laundromat and constantly smelled like detergent and humidity. Rent was cheap, and that was all we cared about. It wasn't pretty, but it was ours. A few days after I moved out, I received a letter from my father. Certified mail. Formal. Cold. Precise. It was a legal document stating that I had been cut off completely from the family. No inheritance, no support, no connection, nothing. Like I had never existed. I kept that letter. Not because it hurt me, but because I knew one day, it would matter. A few months later, my daughter was born. Her name is Ava Brooks. 7 pounds, tiny hands, loud cry, and the strongest spirit I had ever seen. The moment I held her, something changed inside me. I wasn't scared anymore. I was responsible. I promised myself right then, I would never let anyone make her feel unwanted the way I had. The first few years were brutal. Jaden worked double shifts at an auto shop. I worked part-time wherever I could while finishing my GED. We lived off instant noodles, cheap bread, and whatever we could stretch. Every dollar mattered. Every decision mattered. But we made it work. We weren't rich. We weren't stable. But we were a family. Then life hit us harder than I ever expected. One night, Jaden was driving home from work. He never made it. A truck ran a red light. He died on impact. Just like that, he was gone. No warning. No goodbye. I was 22 years old, standing in my apartment with a 4-year-old daughter, and everything we built together disappeared overnight. The only thing I got was a small insurance payout. $12,000. That was the value of his life on paper. That was my lowest point. No parents. No partner. No safety net. Just me and my daughter. But giving up was never an option. I had someone watching me now. Someone depending on me. So I got up. And I kept going. Before Jaden passed, I had started doing small interior setup jobs, helping people decorate apartments, arranging furniture, making spaces feel like home. Nothing big. Just small gigs. But I was good at it. People noticed. So after he was gone, I threw myself into it completely. I worked nonstop. Days, nights, weekends, whatever it took. I learned everything I could. Took cheap courses. Watched tutorials. Practiced on every project. Slowly, things started to change. Years passed. 1 client turned into 2. 2 turned into 10. Then came bigger opportunities. Bigger spaces. Bigger clients. Bigger money. I stopped surviving. and started building. By the time I turned 30, I wasn't struggling anymore. By 34, I had my own company. A real one. Employees. Office. High-end clients. The same world my parents once protected so fiercely? Yeah. I built my way right into it. Without them. And then, after 20 years of silence, they showed up at my door. Acting like none of it ever happened. Asking for a grandson that didn't exist. Offering money like they could fix everything. What they didn't realize was this. I wasn't that scared 16-year-old girl anymore. And this time, I was the one in control. When my parents showed up at my door, I already knew something wasn't right. People don't disappear for 20 years and suddenly come back with smiles and soft voices. They came with a purpose. And I was about to find out exactly what it was. I let them inside. Not because I forgave them, but because I wanted to hear it from their own mouths. My dad walked into my house like he was inspecting property. His eyes moved across the furniture, the walls, the decor, quietly calculating. My mom sat stiffly on the couch, hands folded, posture perfect like always. Nothing about them had really changed. Except now, they needed something. "We know about your son," my mom said. I just stared at her. "My grandson," my dad added, like it was already a fact. That's when it hit me. They weren't here for me. They were here for a story they had already created. "We'd like to meet him," my mom continued. "And reconnect as a family." Family. That word almost made me laugh. For 20 years, I didn't exist to them. Now suddenly, I was family again? Then my dad got straight to the point. "We're hosting our 50th anniversary. Big event. Important people will be there." Of course they would. Image was everything to them. "There have been questions about you," he continued. "People remember we had another child. We need to clear that up." There it was. Not love. Not regret. Damage control. "And your son," my mom added, leaning forward slightly, "he would represent the next generation of our family." I took a deep breath. "Who told you I have a son?" My dad waved his hand casually. "That article about your business. It mentioned your child." We assumed. Of course they did. They didn't even know their own grandchild existed. But they had already built a whole fantasy around him. "And if I say no?" I asked. My dad didn't hesitate. "Let's not make this difficult." Then he pulled out a checkbook. Right there. In my living room. Like this was just another business deal. $250,000, he said calmly. "You bring your son to the event, stay a few hours, take some photos, and we all move forward." I looked at the check. Then at them. 20 years of silence. And this was their solution. Before I could respond, we heard footsteps. "Mom? Who's here?" My daughter walked into the room. Ava. 19 years old. Strong, smart, and everything I fought to protect. She stopped when she saw them. Then looked at me. And just like that, she understood. "These are them?" she asked quietly. I nodded. "The grandparents who threw you out?" My mom flinched. "That's not exactly." "Which part isn't accurate?" Ava cut in. "The part where you kicked out a pregnant 16-year-old, or the part where you pretended she didn't exist for 20 years? The room went silent. My dad tried to regain control. "Young lady." "I'm not your young lady," Ava said firmly. "I'm the grandchild you never wanted." My mom looked confused, almost panicked. "Wait, you're her daughter," I said. And just like that, everything shattered. My dad blinked, trying to process it. "But, we thought." "You assumed," I said calmly. "The article said child." You built the rest of the story in your head. Ava crossed her arms. You've been telling people about a grandson, right? She said. Someone you could show off? Neither of them answered. They didn't need to. The truth was written all over their faces. My dad recovered first. All right, he said slowly. We can adjust. Adjust. Like this was a PR issue. Ava can still come to the event, he continued. We'll just change the narrative. I almost couldn't believe what I was hearing. Change it to what? Ava asked. The secret granddaughter you hid for 19 years? My mom's voice softened, almost pleading. We could say you were studying abroad, recently returned. Ava let out a short laugh. I've lived here my whole life. I go to college here. You want me to lie about my entire existence? That's when I stood up. This conversation is over. They weren't here to fix anything. They weren't here to apologize. They were here to use us. Again. At the door, my mom turned back. This is a chance to fix the past, she said. Don't let it go. I looked her straight in the eye. You lost that chance 20 years ago. They left. Just like that. But this time, I wasn't the one standing outside. Ava looked at me. You're not actually considering this, right? I shook my head slowly. No. Then I took a deep breath. But I'm not done with them either. Because for the first time in 20 years, I wasn't running from the past. I was ready to face it. Head on. The moment my parents left my house, the silence felt different. Not heavy. Not painful. Clear. Like something had finally clicked. Ava was still standing in the living room, arms crossed, trying to process everything that just happened. They really thought I didn't exist, she said. They didn't think, I replied calmly. They assumed. And then they built a lie around it. That night, after she went to her room, I pulled out something I hadn't touched in years. A small fireproof box. Inside it was every piece of my past they tried to bury. The disinheritance papers. The certified letter. Every document that proved exactly what they did. I sat on the floor and read it again. Line by line. Cold legal language reducing me to nothing. No rights. No connection. No obligation. Like I had never been their daughter. For years, I kept those papers as a reminder of what I survived. But that night, they became something else. Evidence. Ava walked back into my room quietly. Is that the letter? She asked. I nodded. She sat beside me and read it carefully. I watched her expression change from curiosity to anger. They really signed this? She whispered. Yeah. She looked up at me, eyes sharp. So what are you going to do with it? That was the question. For 20 years, they controlled the story. Now I had the truth. The next morning, I made a call. Mrs. Ramirez? She picked up instantly. Vanessa? Everything okay? I told her everything. About my parents showing up, the fake grandson story, the anniversary party, the money. She didn't even sound surprised. Those people haven't changed one bit, she said. Then I asked her something important. That night, when they kicked me out, do you remember it clearly? There was a pause. I remember every second, she said firmly. I saw you standing in the rain. I saw them close the door. Do you still have your old security recordings? Another pause. Then she said something that made my heart race. You know, I never throw anything away. 20 minutes later, she sent me the footage. Grainy. Old. But clear enough. A 16-year-old girl standing outside her house in the rain with a suitcase. Timestamped. Dated. Undeniable. Now I had proof. Not just words. Not just memories. Proof. That afternoon, I sat at my dining table with Ava. I'm going to their party, I said. She looked up immediately. What? Why? Not for them, I said. For me. I explained everything. They want a performance, I said. They want me to show up, smile, and make their lie look real. Ava nodded slowly. So what are you going to do? I leaned back in my chair. I'm going to give them the opposite. That's when she understood. You're going to expose them. Not for revenge, I said. For the truth. Ava didn't hesitate. I'm coming with you. I looked at her carefully. This won't be easy. I know, she said. But they need to see me. Not their fake grandson. Me. That night, I made another call. A number I hadn't dialed in 20 years. My brother. Dylan. He picked up after a few rings. Vanessa? His voice sounded older. Different. But I recognized it. I heard they came to see you, he said. So you know. Yeah, he exhaled. And I need to say this. I should have done something that night. I didn't. And I've regretted it ever since. I stayed quiet. Let him talk. They've been lying about you for years, he continued. The grandson story, that was Mom. She made it up after reading about you online. Of course she did. There's something else, he added. The party is going to be live-streamed. That made me pause. Live-streamed? Yeah. Church event. Big audience. Not just the people in the room. Perfect. Exactly what I needed. If I come, I said slowly, will you stand there and tell the truth? There was a pause. Then he said. Yes. After that call, everything became clear. The plan. The timing. The moment. 1 week later. I stood outside the venue with Ava beside me. Dressed sharp. Calm. Ready. Inside, 200 guests were celebrating a perfect family that didn't exist. A camera was already rolling. Streaming everything live. Ava looked at me. Are you nervous? I took a deep breath. Yeah. Then I looked at the doors. But I'm ready. And with that, we walked in. The moment I stepped inside that ballroom, I felt it. Eyes. Whispers. Energy shifting. This wasn't just a party. This was a stage. Crystal chandeliers lit up the entire hall. Expensive suits, designer dresses, champagne glasses, every inch of that place screamed money and reputation. Exactly the world my parents protected, at my expense. At the far end, there they were. My parents. Standing on stage like royalty. Smiling. Laughing. Welcoming guests like nothing in their past could ever touch them. They really think they've won, Ava whispered beside me. I didn't respond. I just started walking. People began to notice. First a few glances. Then whispers. Then full-on stares. Is that her? The daughter? I thought she moved abroad. Yeah. That lie was about to die. We moved closer to the stage. And then, my mom saw me. Her smile froze instantly. Her hand gripped my dad's arm. He turned. Saw me. And for the first time in my life, I saw fear in his eyes. He was in the middle of a speech. Family is everything, he was saying into the mic. Funny. Real funny. I didn't wait. Didn't hesitate. I walked straight up the stage steps. Took the mic right out of his hand. The entire room went silent. Even the livestream camera turned toward me. Perfect. Hi, I said, my voice steady. My name is Vanessa Cole. Pause. Not dramatic. Intentional. I'm the daughter they told you moved overseas 20 years ago. You could feel it. That shift. Like the entire room just leaned in at once. I didn't move overseas, I continued. I was thrown out of my house at 16, because I was pregnant. Gasps. Actual gasps. People started looking at my parents. Then back at me. That same night, they had legal papers drafted to cut me off completely. No inheritance. No family. Nothing. I reached into my bag. Pulled out the document. Held it up. This is the letter my father sent me 3 days later. Signed. Notarized. Official. The camera zoomed in. I made sure of it. It also says they have no responsibility toward me, or my child. I turned slightly. Looked at Ava. This is that child. She stepped forward. Confident. Strong. Unshaken. My daughter, I said clearly. The granddaughter they never wanted. The room exploded into whispers. Phones came out. People started recording. The livestream comments were blowing up in real time. My dad tried to grab the mic. Vanessa, this is not appropriate. I stepped back. Out of reach. When is it appropriate? I fired back. After another 20 years of lies? Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Perfect. You came to my house last week, I continued, offering me $250,000 to bring a fake grandson to this event. Now the room wasn't whispering. It was reacting. Loudly. You invented a whole person, I said, looking straight at them. Just to protect your reputation. My mom started crying. Right there. On stage. Makeup running. Image cracking. My dad? Frozen. For the first time ever. He had no control. Then a voice came from the crowd. I remember you saying your grandson was in business already. More murmurs. More chaos. And then? My brother stepped forward. Dylan. She's telling the truth, he said loudly. Every head turned. We were there that night, he continued. We watched our parents throw her out. That was it. That was the moment everything broke. You could literally feel their reputation collapsing. In real time. In front of everyone. I stepped forward one last time. Calm. Focused. Done. I didn't come here for money, I said. I didn't come here for revenge. I looked directly at the camera. I came here because I'm done being erased. Then I grabbed Ava's hand. And we walked off the stage. Behind us? Chaos. Guests arguing. People leaving. Phones ringing. Reputation, gone. Outside, the cold air hit different. Clean. Free. Ava looked at me. Did we just do that? I smiled slightly. Yeah. We did. And for the first time in 20 years. I felt like I could breathe again. But what happened after that night? The backlash, the messages, and the one thing I never expected from my family. That's a whole different story. Face with open mouth fire. The moment we stepped out of that ballroom, everything felt quiet. Not peaceful. Just still. Like the world hadn't caught up yet. Ava and I got into the car, and for a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then her phone buzzed. Once. Twice. Then nonstop. It's blowing up, she said, staring at the screen. I didn't need to ask what she meant. I already knew. By the time we reached home, the video had already spread. Clips from the livestream were everywhere. People had screen recorded everything. My speech. The documents. Ava standing beside me. Dylan confirming the truth. All of it. By midnight, it was viral. Thousands of shares. Comments pouring in faster than we could read. Some people were shocked. Some were angry. But most of them? They understood. You were just a kid. That's insane. They cared more about reputation than their own daughter? This woman built everything on her own. Respect. For the first time in 20 years, the truth wasn't hidden. It was public. And it wasn't going away. The next morning, my phone started ringing. Unknown numbers. Emails. Messages from people I hadn't heard from in decades. Some were from old neighbors. People who said they always suspected something wasn't right. People who said they wished they had done more. But one message stood out. It was from my sister. Haley. I'm sorry. That's all it said. 2 words. 20 years late. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I locked my phone. Not because I was angry. But because I didn't know what to feel. Around noon, Ava walked into the kitchen holding her laptop. You need to see this, she said. It was a news article. A real one. Headline. Business owner exposes family's 20-year secret at public event. I read through it slowly. They told the whole story. The night I was thrown out. The fake grandson. The anniversary event. Everything. Then came the part that hit hardest. Sources say the Cole family has declined to comment. Of course they had. For the first time, they couldn't control the narrative. So they stayed silent. By evening, the pressure started showing. My dad's law firm website went offline. My mom's social circles went quiet. People were distancing themselves. Quickly. Reputation doesn't collapse slowly. It crashes. That night, I got a call. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something told me to pick up. Vanessa. It was my dad. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said. You've made your point. Not I'm sorry. Not we were wrong. Just that. I leaned back in my chair. No, I said calmly. I told the truth. You humiliated us, he snapped. I didn't raise my voice. You did that to yourselves. Silence. Heavy this time. Then he said something I didn't expect. Do you have any idea what this has cost us? I looked around my house. The life I built. The daughter I raised. Everything I survived. Yeah, I said. I do. Because I had paid a much bigger price. Years ago. He didn't respond. Didn't argue. Didn't threaten. He just hung up. And that was it. No closure. No apology. No resolution. But something inside me felt settled. Ava sat across from me. You okay? She asked. I nodded. Yeah. And for the first time it was true. Because I didn't need their apology anymore. I didn't need their approval. And I definitely didn't need their money. I had something they never gave me. Peace. But just when I thought it was over, someone unexpected showed up at my door again. Flushed face fire. 3 days after everything went viral, life started to settle. The noise online was still there, but inside my house, things felt calm again. Normal. Peaceful. Then the doorbell rang. Ava looked at me from the couch. You expecting someone? I shook my head. No. I walked to the door and opened it. And for a second, I just stood there. It was my mom. Alone. No designer outfit. No perfect posture. No controlled expression. She looked tired. Older than I remembered. I just want to talk, she said quietly. For 20 years, I had imagined this moment. Thought about what I would say. How I would react. But standing there, face to face with her again. It felt different. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Not inviting her in. Not this time. She nodded slightly, like she understood. Fair enough. I saw everything, she said. The video. The reactions. I didn't respond. I just let her speak. We didn't think it would ever come out like that, she continued. We thought we had moved past it. I looked at her. You moved past it, I said. I lived through it. That hit her. I could see it. Her eyes filled with tears, but this time it didn't feel like a performance. It felt real. We were wrong, she said finally. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just honest. I was wrong. There it was. The words I thought I needed for years. But something surprising happened. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel anger either. I just felt clear. You don't get to come back now, I said calmly. Her face tightened slightly. Not in anger. In acceptance. I know, she whispered. I'm not that 16-year-old girl anymore, I continued. And this isn't that house. She nodded slowly. I see that. We stood there in silence for a moment. No tension. No drama. Just truth. Then she reached into her bag and pulled something out. An envelope. I brought this, she said. I didn't take it. Keep it. It's not money, she said quickly. That made me pause. Then what is it? Photos, she said. Of you. From when you were little. That hit differently. For 20 years, I couldn't look at them, she said. I kept them hidden. Her voice shook. Not because I forgot you, but because I knew what I did. I slowly took the envelope. Didn't open it. Just held it. This doesn't fix anything, I said. I know, she replied. It's not supposed to. For the first time. There were no excuses. No manipulation. No control. Just truth. She took a step back. I won't come again, she said. Not unless you want me to. I nodded once. Then she turned and walked away. No dramatic goodbye. No looking back. Just, gone. I stood there for a few seconds before going back inside. Ava looked up. Who was it? I held up the envelope. My past, I said. She raised an eyebrow. And? I looked at her. At the life I built. At everything that came from the worst moment of my life. Now it's just a memory, I said. That night, I opened the envelope. Old photos. Birthday parties. School days. Moments I barely remembered. For a second, I saw the life I lost. Then I looked around my room. At everything I had. And I realized something important. They didn't ruin my life. They forced me to build my own. And I built something stronger. The next morning, I made one final decision. I took the disinheritance papers. The evidence. The anger. The past. And I locked it all away. Not to hide it. But because I didn't need it anymore. Ava walked in as I closed the box. Done? She asked. I smiled. Yeah. Not because everything was perfect. But because I finally chose what mattered. Peace. Family. And the life I created. Some people wait for closure. I built mine. Fire. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about your own family, your own boundaries, or someone you've lost and found, leave me a comment. Tell me, what would you have done? And if you want more stories like this, check the description for one I think you'll love just as much. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.